Now, one person we did hear from today for the first time, Karen Reed herself, doubling down, of course, saying she did not do this. She wants to know who did.
Said it feels we're the only ones fighting for the truth of what happened to John O'Keefe. And me and my family and my attorneys and my team have marshaled every resource to get to the truth. It just feels like no one else wants it.
Karen, just to be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
And no, she didn't do it. No, she didn't do it. This is an innocent woman. She didn't do it.
I tried to save his life.
Yeah.
I tried to save his life at 6 in the morning. I was covered in the only one trying to save his life.
Why'd you admit to it?
She didn't admit to it. She didn't admit to anything close to that. Nothing close to that. And you should know that.
That was like 3 or 4 times she admitted to it.
No, she didn't.
That's not true.
She asked a question. She asked a question, which is very different. She didn't admit to anything.
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record.
Okay, how is everybody? Here we go. Well, I think I'm going to have to change my opening because Karen Reed has changed her story. Apparently, when she said, "We all know who did it," she really meant to say by "we all know," meaning everyone knows but myself and my lawyers. I'm not included in this we. Let's take a look at her shifting stories before we get into this new interview with Ted Daniels, the Karen Reed supporter from Boston 25. Really turned my stomach, frankly. I mean, I'll just be honest. Karen Reed is making every opportunity to disparage John O'Keefe while making herself the victim. And crime has really paid off for her, as it does so often with these innocence fraud campaigns. She's living out of a hotel. She's the Eloise of grown-up Eloise of Canton, Mass. And does not look like she's suffering at all after killing her police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe, and leaving him to die cruelly in a nor'easter. She's also got a new lawyer. I'll get all into that. But first, let's look at her shifting stories.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
Who did it?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
John was treated like a piece of garbage.
So there she goes. She's admitting she treated John like a piece of garbage. That's how I took it. You'll see the context in a minute, but Mark Betterow, who is Aidan Carney's attorney, is now jumped on board. Another fraudster, innocence fraudster lawyer. And I believe that I think we should get word on the Supreme Court ruling soon. Maui Swift, thank you very much. Things are heating up. Another attorney, yes, Betterow, added to OJ's, isn't it like OJ Simpson 2.0? That's what I was thinking, the same thing, Maui, today. This really is like OJ with all these attention-seeking innocence fraudster lawyers. This OJ Simpson case is what inspired Barry Scheck to create the Innocence Project and really put the wrongful conviction movement in high gear in America. It's now like a tsunami. It's a multi-billion-dollar movement. It's pretty much unstoppable, making lawyers rich. When they get their guilty client out, they can sue in our civil courts for multi-million-dollar payments paid by your taxpayer dollars. Just a curious new piece of news before I get into the Karen Read interview. It's being reported that with this U.S. aid story, so that Trump is pulling funds from U.S. aid, that U.S. aid, which is our government, was giving $27 million. I have not looked into it, researched myself. I'm just reporting what's been reported. $27 million to progressive prosecutors, meaning prosecutors who wouldn't prosecute crimes, who'd get rid of enhancements, meaning if you do a crime with a gun, you're going to get more time, and letting out a whole bunch of people. So that was very compelling piece of news for me to hear that it's actually U.S. aid who's put in that money for that. Yeah. Manny says, KR duping delight smirk. We don't know. Yeah, they both have that smirk, don't they? I thought the same thing. Total duper's delight. But let's get into the Karen Read interview without further. It's not very long. They're putting it out in pieces. I put it all together. Maestro was nice enough to take out the music. I don't think it's going to be necessary, but we'll see. I'm going to be stopping and starting it. If you want to watch it without my commentary, the links are in the description of this video. Okay, here we go. Are you all ready for this nauseating interview?
We spent several hours with Karen Read over 2 days, with and without her attorneys. We asked for the interview.
With and without her attorneys. It doesn't look like her attorneys. The only one who seems to be on camera is Alan Jackson. And they're like the dynamic duo couple now. And no matter how many times they're caught in canoodling, I guess you'd put it, that's the best way to put it, her supporters will make up wild excuses. The video footage was put together and is fake. Oh no, that's not, Alan Jackson doesn't have his knee, his elbow on Karen Read's knee. That's an armrest. Clearly not an armrest. Those chairs don't have armrests. And you can see that I thought they were a couple when Karen Read started fighting with Alan Jackson in court and kind of straightened up right before the jury came in. Do you remember that moment where she looks like a dog ready to attack with her mouth, like spitting mad, is kind of mad whispering at Alan Jackson? That's the way that you only fight with someone that you're really intimate with. But looks like the affair continues. Two psychopaths meet and they call it love.
And we're somewhat surprised she said yes. Read tells me she withdrew to New Hampshire for 2 months after her first trial. She's been preparing for round 2 ever since.
So look at her. She's living in a hotel. She's supposed to be $5 million in debt. And she's living out of a hotel. I mean, all I could think is there is a sucker born every minute. And I think I need to, there is a sucker born ready to swallow an innocence fraud story in America. Certainly. We love this narrative. The little guy up against the system. The wrongfully accused. But I mean, how much of a sucker do you have to be to believe Karen Read? Because really what's come out of Karen Reed's imagination. I mean, I guess you could say ARCA, but I mean, they looked at a small piece of evidence compared to the totality of evidence, the 8 weeks of testimony and evidence presented by the Commonwealth. I mean, how dumb do you have to be? How naive and easily led do you have to be to buy this narrative? I get it. I get that it's compelling, but this one, I get that good people get sucked in, but come on.
I have nothing to hide. My life is in the balance, and it shouldn't be.
It is unusual for someone who's accused of murder to do this interview or others.
I've seen the more information the public has.
The more information the public has. It's unusual because most lawyers, if you were listening to my episode I did with criminal defense attorney David McKenzie, the link is in the description of this episode, he was saying, I would never let my client do an interview like this, let alone Vanity Fair, let alone all the interviews she's done. And they're all coming into trial because what she's really saying is what's valuable to me is to rile up my supporters, keep the money coming in. And I can only do that when I give interviews. It doesn't matter if I lose in court. I trust my lawyers are going to get a hung jury or will poison the jury pool enough that we'll get a hung jury. And it's looking like, the way I'm thinking, it's either going to be a hung jury or an acquittal. I'm not confident at all that she's going to get convicted. I'm feeling very, very negative about her prospects of getting convicted. And I think this will be done again and again and again. And the silence of the communities of lawyers who are watching her lawyers subvert our justice system, the silence is deafening. But when this is repeated over and over and over again, pre-trial, and your justice system is now turned into a total kangaroo court, it's going to be your silence, lawyers, and you're doing lawyers that did all this.
The more they understand what we already know.
Good to see you.
We first met Karen Reed at a hotel in the Seaport. She's logged 150 nights here since her legal fight began. It's the command.
150 nights. Let's just say it's what is that? It's a crazy bill. This is what your hard-earned cash is going to, Karen Reed supporters. For Karen Reed to have a hotel room. And she's so broke. I mean, foolish. If you're giving Karen Reed money, boy, are you foolish.
Center for her defense, and she is one of the commanders.
When we get new information, we just divide and conquer, and we can break it down really fast.
On the road, we drove by the financial services firm where she worked for 15 years before her arrest.
Little did I know, I'd reconnect with someone I had dated nearly 20 years earlier, and then he would be tragically killed.
By me. He'd be tragically killed. By me. Look at these cars she's riding in. What a life. What a life, huh? To be driven around. I don't believe she can drive with her bail. What a life. Having drinks at Smith and Walensky's. Nice work if you can get it. All you have to do is brutally murder your police officer boyfriend. And all this could be yours. And start a witness harassment campaign and an innocence fraud campaign. All this could be yours, guys.
Murdered, and I've been framed for it.
And I've been framed for it. Because everyone wants to frame the adjunct college professor. Because nobody liked Karen Reed. I'm sure she has no clue as to why she's been framed either, why no one likes her and everyone wants to frame her for this. They all want to, and they want to do it in a way that's absolutely impossible with the timeline. There's no time. The CERT team was already there when the SUV was on its way to the Sally port. There's no time to plant the evidence. But they found some, Roberta, you don't understand. They found some pieces later. They found some pieces in the snow because they wanted to go back because they didn't find enough pieces. Like she couldn't have been tried on the pieces that they found originally. They went back and put more pieces in. It wasn't that the snow just melted and they found more later. I remember one winter, my mother lost the scraper, you know, how you scrape your windshield when it ices over. And she was convinced that someone stole her scraper till she found it in the spring when the snow melted. So things appear when the snow melts. If you've been raised in cold conditions, you know, you find a lot of stuff in the snow. The mitten you lost, that scarf, whatever else, dog toy.
Appreciate you guys coming here. Reed's LA-based lawyer Alan Jackson joined her 3 years to the...
Did you guys see that? This is all I could think of during this interaction. Wait, where is it?
In terms of...
Wait. Yeah, right here.
Tragically killed, murdered, and I've been framed for it.
We appreciate you guys coming here.
Hi, my name is Alan Jackson. I'm an innocence fraudster, and this is my murderous client / girlfriend. Yes, I'm married, but this is my murderous client girlfriend. We get together on the side. My wife, you know, I spent a lot of time away from my wife in California. Things are pretty tense, but it's worth it for these canoodles I get with Karen Reed.
Reed's LA-based lawyer Alan Jackson joined her 3 years to the date of John O'Keefe's death.
How much do you think about him?
I think about him in terms of his final days, his final week.
Right. I think of him in his final days, his final weeks. I like to play it over, that final moment. A lot of killers like to do this. Think about the moment that they took someone's life because it gives them power. I like to think that I won. He tried to dump me and I killed him. And it gives me immense satisfaction. That's what she's really saying.
I mean, we have his cell phone, which a cell phone to anyone is like a diary. The time that I spent with John, 2 years, it's now been 3 since he's gone. And
he's gone. He's gone off the face of the earth mysteriously. 3 years since he's been murdered, Karen Reed. And you did it. And look at that upper lip and the contempt. There's that expression of contempt. She's showing facially her contempt for John O'Keefe. If you notice that one upper lip, that's an expression of contempt. She has contempt for him, and she showed her contempt by not only calling him 50-something times. What was it, 52 times? 51 times? After she clipped him with her rather large SUV and left him messages like, I hate you, you're a pervert.
And I have very mixed feelings, you know, when I look back on John, because I see a lot of poor decisions that were all precursors to his death.
Poor decisions.
To his death, to his murder. She's saying he caused his own murder by having poor decisions. Poor decisions caused it. And so Ted Daniel, to his credit, jumps right on that and says, whose poor decisions? And she says, well, us both, because she knows it's going to look bad. But what she really means is John O'Keefe's. I didn't want to go to that house. I didn't want to go to that party. I wanted to go to the pizza place and eat. I was hungry. I was having stomach trouble. And John O'Keefe wanted to break up with me. And I wanted to teach him a lesson by clipping him and leaving my police officer boyfriend, who never wore a coat, in a nor'easter. Teach him a lesson. So, isn't it so obvious what happened here? To me, it seems glaringly obvious that she hates him, that the killing John O'Keefe made her feel powerful. The innocence fraud campaign gives her power and import. She's somebody. She's now a celebrity. A celebrity cop killer we have in this country. Well, it's wild. It's wild. And she got the last word. And she loves to think about his last moments. That's why she says, how long to die in the cold? Did he really suffer? Hope so. It's dark place to go, but that's where I believe that she gets her satisfaction and pleasure out of. Thinking about John O'Keefe's last moments and his suffering that she caused and that she made him gone. She made him vanish. It's like magic. He's vanished off the face of the earth, and it's her doing. How powerful she feels.
By whom?
By both of us. Just drinking, being around the wrong people is chief among them.
Reed admits drinking.
Oh, she just admits to drinking? Well, how did your drinking cause this, Karen? If you had nothing to do with it. It was her bad decision. She should have never... What? You would never take any responsibility if you had really dropped off John O'Keefe at the house and something happened to him in the house. Miraculously happened to him in a house that there's zero proof he ever walked in. I just don't understand the large leaps that the Free Karen readers make. It's become like the Karen Read defense is how come or that's weird defense. Why come? Why, why come there was butt dials?
The hours before O'Keefe was found unresponsive outside 34 Fairview Road in Canton.
She just repeated the phrase over and over again, I hit him, I hit him.
Multiple first responders testified.
Oh, that was so damning in court. I'm curious to see how Hank Brennan puts on this trial, because Adam Lally, it was very powerful to have all the first responders testify right off the bat. And here, each one of them, almost all of them except one that I remember, she said, I hit him, I hit him. Jen McCabe certain, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. No one heard a question. Not one person. Well, why come? Why come they didn't put it in the report? Why come? Because they hate writing those reports. And it's a sloppy oversight. That's why come. Karen Read supporter. It's my new character, the Free Karen Read supporter. Why come they didn't put it in the report? Huh? Answer that. Answer that.
That Reed initially said herself she hit O'Keefe with her SUV. Reed says she only questioned if she could have hit him.
Yeah, I went through every possibility. He was near the road and he was dying.
Right. I went through every possibility thinking for my defense. My taillight is smashed to smithereens. I said I did it multiple times. But I put enough distance by getting Jen McCabe to Google things and get get John O'Keefe's niece to call Jen McCabe. Always a little plausible deniability. And some of it's just gone down the memory hole, like all her text messages, which are really her last text messages before she clipped him, were all about Richie the plumber and how she couldn't come out because she was waiting for the plumber to come back from the hardware store. But he'd come back tomorrow to fix her hot water issue. He was fixing her hot water issue. She couldn't come out. He finally went to one of those big box stores to get a part, and he'd be back mañana. And John O'Keefe told his friend that he was annoyed that Karen Reed didn't ask him to fix her plumbing because his father is a plumber. Papa could have fixed it. What are you doing? No one's going anywhere tomorrow. It's a nor'easter. But it sure worked. Karen Reed knew how to push his button, so I'm sure she thought of everything, thinking of a defense. First, she thought of a plow hit him. She was going to go with that. Then she went with, I dropped him off. I don't know what happened to him. Maybe he got hit by a plow. To thinking it was a tragic accident. She didn't mean to do it. We have Yannetti on the record saying it was a tragic accident. She didn't mean to do it. Until she hit pay dirt and decided it was all a giant cover-up, vague cover-up that doesn't really fit any of the evidence, doesn't fit the timeline, but it's just you just kind of have to believe her because she wouldn't do this. She didn't do it. So it's all a cover-up, a blue wall of silence cover-up.
And I didn't think he was purposely put in that place. It did not cross my mind for several days that they did this to John, that John was treated like a piece of garbage.
When Reed says they, she is referring to people who were gathered inside 34 Fairview. If John was beaten up and attacked in that house, who did it?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. And it's not for us.
Doesn't it look like they're going to kiss there? We don't know. We don't know. Oh, Duper's delight. Duper's delight. It's a lawyer-client romance. Extremely inappropriate, just like the raffle, the $50 raffle, only for Karen Reed fans, the legal raffle they held. If you listen to my episode with defense attorney David McKenzie, he says, this is really distasteful. He's like, I don't know. I was looking at the rules for ethical guidelines for lawyers in Massachusetts, and it's very vague. But I would certainly think that they violated a lot of these guidelines.
To know. Somebody other than Karen is responsible for that, for the killing of John.
We have it's not some other guy did it defense, which is what David McKenzie talked about. Some other guy did it. Not Karen. We have the not Karen did it defense. And I get paid the big bucks to look you in the eye and lie convincingly, hopefully. Hopefully you'll be convinced by my non-blinking prowess.
What is the one thing in this case you believe proves your innocence?
John's body, no bruise, 6,000-pound, full-size SUV.
But nobody said you fully hit him. You clipped him with the back of it. It's very different. And not many people are across the street with a glass in their hand. It was an odd set of events. John O'Keefe had a bar glass in his hand when he was hit. He was clipped, so just clipped on this, and he went flying. I believe he flew literally out of his shoe, like so many people do when they get clipped by a car. But nobody said that she hit him front on, going full force. She was going 24 miles an hour in reverse. And I believe he hits his head either on the hard earth or something else. Heisenberg, nice to see you. Roberta, they went from saying one thing for months and now saying they don't know anything. Brennan is going to have a field day with this nonsense. Right. And I was listening to Aidan Carney's live on Facebook, and he was really up in arms saying, well, why didn't Hank Brennan or someone representing the Commonwealth, because Ted Daniel says coming up, well, we asked someone in the prosecutor's office to give a comment. Why didn't they give a comment if Karen Read is so guilty? Because they have ethical guidelines to not poison the jury pool and try this in the court of public opinions, to be properly tried in a courtroom, and not to prejudice the jury, and to give Karen Read a fair trial. And her lawyers should care about that too, and not be giving these kind of open-ended interviews and raffles where they invite people into the behind the scenes of how they strategize the defense. And by the way, the guy who won that, I believe he was charged and then they dropped the charges for witness harassment for leaving these rubber ducks places and all over Massachusetts.
Not a bruise on his body, not a fracture below his...
Not a bruise on his body. What happened to his eye sockets? What was that? Has Karen Read ever noticed that some things look like things but aren't? Do you know an apple looks a lot like an onion, but it isn't? Do you know what I mean? What is she talking about?
below his head.
If you were framed, who's calling the shots?
I don't know the interconnections.
See, you would have some idea. This is another thing. People who claim this is not unusual to say you're framed. But when you're framed, you usually have an idea as to why you were blamed. It's very unusual to have no idea why you were framed or who did it or who you teed off. You know what I mean? Wouldn't she say, like, well, John O'Keefe's police pals didn't like me, but that's not true. Everyone liked Karen Read. She puts on she has a convincing mask.
The interpersonal relationships among these people, I have a strong personal opinion that what has motivated this persecution of me is power.
I'm declaring a mistrial in this case.
Who's gained power? You're the only one who's gained power, Karen Read. And just like a psychopath, it's all about power and control.
Read says her initial thought of going through a second trial was a gut punch, but now she sees it as more time to prepare.
Actually, I take that back. You know who's gained power? YouTubers, bloggers, anyone who wants to jump on the innocence fraud campaign because it's a one-way ticket to a whole lot of money and a whole lot of clicks and a whole lot of views. You want to open up doors for you? Support a cop killer. Hugely popular, apparently, in America and abroad.
Talking now, will she talk then?
I'm not afraid of taking the stand, and I'm clearly not afraid of speaking, but they're playing hardball. So we'll weigh the pros and cons, and we'll make another game time, second game time.
Playing hardball? You took a life, Karen. You took someone's life. What are they supposed to be What are they supposed to do? Oh, never mind. Sorry, O'Keefe family. We don't want to play hardball with Karen Reed and actually charge her with something. Oh, she's got a whole innocence fraud campaign and a bunch of people rallying around her. Never mind.
Decision.
Who would you rather face? Is it Adam Lally, who we saw in the first trial, or is it Hank Brennan?
I don't care who I face. I have the truth. I have the best attorneys. Do your worst.
One of the possible outcomes here could be a conviction. That could be prison time. How much have you thought about that?
I think about it every day, about prison time, and it doesn't frighten me.
It doesn't frighten me. There's an admission in the negative. It frightens her. I think she'll do well in prison. She's hugely strategic and manipulative and has a fake mask that she wears so well. I think she'll do okay. Anyone else think that? Heisenberg, thank you. I've read somewhere that everyone in her cult are very upset about this interview. To now say you don't know anything at all is ridiculous. Really, are they upset? Because I heard Aidan Carney say it was a nothing burger interview. And he goes, we're not investigators. It's not for us to figure out. Well, I thought you were an investigative journalist, Aidan. What happened to that? I thought you solved it. You're going around calling people killers, cop killers, and you don't know? You're not certain? Don't you think there's something wrong? And don't you think there's something wrong with Karen Reed? This is the thing that tipped me off, is that Karen Reed never, not only did she spearhead a witness harassment campaign where people were being accosted at their child's lacrosse games, etc., soccer games, sports games, is that she never called off the dogs and said, hey, don't harass. I really appreciate the support, guys, but let's not harass anybody. No, she thought it up, looked them up on Facebook, set out to make everybody else's life miserable that had the goods on her. She was ready to make their lives awful because they knew they had damning testimony against her. And also, I think it was a real way to intimidate them before they testified. So to answer Aidan Carney's question about why Jennifer McCabe and the witnesses don't give interviews, is because if they did give interviews, it would bring about 50 times the amount of harassment towards them. And that all of you would say, oh, they're attention seekers. Why are they giving interviews? They have to be in the spotlight. They have to take away the spotlight from Karen. As for the O'Keefe family, I really do think the O'Keefe family should give interviews as a family. And any friends or family of John O'Keefe's want to give an interview, this platform is always open for you. Love to hear what you have to say, but specifically the O'Keefe family should be giving interviews as a family all together. It's the most powerful thing you can do, because these innocence fraud campaigns are spread like a virus.
The way it did 3 years ago.
Reed sold her Mansfield home in November to help pay her estimated $5 million in legal fees. She lives with her parents, who are a part of an inner circle that numbers about 10.
Wait, does she live with her parents or is she living in a hotel room? 150 days in a hotel room? Or is she living with her parents? Which is it?
Supporters have donated $750,000 to her defense fund. And she says people routinely.
This peeves me off that a cop killer can raise $750,000 and we can't raise $10,000 for Lindsay. All right, I'm gonna put her Give, Send, Go up in the bar one more time. Thank you to everyone who supported Lindsay, but she's needs a lawyer to defend herself from a smear campaign and a lawsuit. And people on both sides of the fence have been attacking this fundraiser. So here it is in the comments.
Pick up her meals.
I don't know the last time I've done anything but tip a waiter. And that generosity, that's all helping fuel this. It helps me spiritually, and it helps me financially.
She's well aware not everyone has her back. John O'Keefe's family is convinced.
Look at Paul O'Keefe. That would be me if I were in the courtroom. That's how I would feel sitting there looking at her. Apparently they're not, they don't throw roses at the woman who brutally took the life of their loved one. How insensitive.
Convinced she's a killer and have filed a wrongful death lawsuit against her.
Do you feel the presence of the O'Keefe family behind you in court?
I honestly, I almost look through them. Paul sitting there doesn't impact.
Oh, she almost looks through them. How do you almost look through somebody? So she's saying this specifically to hurt the O'Keefe family, that they don't matter, they're invisible, they're small, to make them feel small and powerless and unimportant. But she doesn't look through them. You can tell. They burn a hole right through her, and she pretends not to notice. It's uncomfortable for her, but she'll never say that.
I mean, it doesn't bother me. That's John's brother. They've attempted to send me.
There's another admission in the negative. Here's something odd where she says Paul O'Keefe has contacted her. I know he's contacted Aidan Carney. If those screenshots are real, I'll pull a page out of the Free Karen Read. Unless he's concocted those screenshots. Free Karen Read playbook. Maybe they're all fake. I can't imagine he would contact Karen Read, but I couldn't imagine he would contact Aidan Carney. Maybe the anger gets the best of him. Don't know, but she provides no proof.
Just send me messages, and as soon as I see the name comes up, I just delete it.
Online, Reed is bombarded by love and hate. Yes, she pays attention.
This case.
Yes, she pays attention because she's an egomaniac. Because it's about her favorite subject, herself. That's what my dad used to say. Everyone's favorite subject is themselves. Something about my favorite subject, Karen Read? Let me look.
This has become your identity. Is that for the rest of your life? Or will one day you just want to...
You got it for the rest of your life. Whether you get acquitted or not, there will be a section of the world that thinks you're a guilty killer, Karen. You have that to live with for the rest of your life. I know someone who will forgive you, Kim Kardashian. Don't judge Karen on the worst mistake she ever made. That's what the wrongful conviction movement says. Heisenberg says, Karen, you supposedly know the truth, but now you're saying that you don't know what happened. Roberta, I can't wait for the trial to start. I agree. Popcorn emoji. April 1st. I think it's going to be a fascinating trial. Certainly Hank Brennan is much more of a TV-ready show, much easier to watch than Lally, who's just, I think he did a good job first time around. And had we not had free Karen readers on the jury, that's my feeling, he would have gotten a conviction. But as far as, was he fun to watch? Not particularly. His opening statement was way, way too long. So I hope it gets edited down, and I'm sure it's going to be much more accessible, much more easily digested trial than last time.
I'll put it all behind you.
I don't think I can, even if I wanted to. And I'm okay with that.
We asked the Norfolk DA's office if we...
Why is she smiling? You know why she's smiling? Because she loves it. She loves thinking about clipping John O'Keefe with her SUV and all the suffering he did before he died. Just freezing to death. Off the face of the earth due to her. She taught him a lesson. Boy, is she powerful. And now he no longer matters, thanks to her. That's how she feels.
We could profile and interview Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan. That request was declined.
What troubles me is how evil people are.
We covered a lot of ground with Karen Reed.
How evil people are, starting with you. So Hank Brennan did the right thing and actually considered Karen Reed's right to a fair trial and not to be prejudiced in the press. She thinks about how evil people are. She's talking about herself. There's an admission. There's a telling admission. So there's a phenomenon when there are false accusations. Someone's done a crime and they're blaming it on, say, a fictitious person that they made up. Often the person they'll describe a person that looks a lot like themselves or has a lot of their same characteristics. So Karen Reed's talking about how evil people are. The person that did this, she knows she's responsible. So she's aware of the evil within herself. That's what she's talking about. She knows she's a psychopath.
Reed, including those who want her in prison. The Norfolk DA, state police working for the DA, and specifically Trooper Michael Proctor. The detective zeroed in on Reed within an hour.
Because without a gag order, Kim K, great question. This is something David McKenzie talked about, my interview with him, how he's represented a lot of big clients from, was it Colin Hagsworth? Is that his name? To Julius Jones. That they agree on that he goes to the prosecutor and they agree on a gag order before trial. But for Karen Reed, it's so profitable to keep talking and to keep rallying up the same pro-criminal free Karen readers. So the free Karen readers are made up of a lot of people who have criminal backgrounds themselves and a lot of nice people that just got duped. But every time she talks, more money comes rolling in. And she has another probably 150 nights to spend in a hotel. She needs the money. And she needs the innocence fraud campaign to keep going. Because without it, she can't win her case on the merits of her case. She has to poison the jury pool. And she has to make it seem like people like us on this side of the fence are irrational and misguided and can't see the truth. Hey, Tammie, thanks so much. Did Karen really spend $5 million? I don't believe so, Tammie. I think that's just a number she made up. And I think she's raised possibly more than the $750,000 that she's talking about. The money seems endless. And she doesn't look like she's suffering much. Her hair is always well done. She's never for anything. The $12,000 they were looking for to pay an expert, they wanted the court to pay it, got paid by the free Karen readers recently. So I think they've brought in a crazy amount of money. And I think that if she gets convicted, this will go on. And that's what Aidan Carney said in his Facebook Live, that this will go on after Karen Read. He's like, what are we going to do after Karen Read? This will go on. Meaning if Karen Read gets convicted, it's going to be free Karen Read from prison. And it will be on the post-litigation side of that. And they never give up. And they'll be raising money on that. Dean Walker, nice to see you. Thanks for the super sticker. So I don't think she's $5 million in debt. I think she has paid her defense team. But she's very frugal and has a way of moving money around. I don't believe she's $5 million in debt.
Of John O'Keefe's death. Proctor has testified that's where the evidence, including Reed's cracked taillight, took.
And if she gets acquitted, she will make a deal like Amanda Knox did. She got, I think, $3 million for her book deal. She'll get a huge book deal and profit off of her crime. She'll write a memoir. She'll go on the circuit. She'll produce a documentary. This is a cash cow for her that will continue and continue. And if she gets convicted and look at how many lawyers are willing to work, who want to work on the free Karen Read team. So I think if she gets convicted, a slew of lawyers will come out of the woodwork, appellate lawyers, to overturn this conviction, looking to find problems and holes and Brady violations, et cetera, to overturn her conviction. So if her conviction gets overturned, she could produce a documentary, produce a podcast, write a book. It's an endless money machine, these innocence fraud campaigns.
Yeah, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent, though.
During Reed's first trial, Proctor's personal feelings for Reed were exposed in his personal text messages. What was it like to be there in court and listen to all those texts?
Proctor was just letting the public know what I've known about Michael Proctor, who he really...
Oh, how did you know that about Michael Proctor? Because he thought you were guilty, Karen Read? How did she know? Was she doing some Facebook sleuthing on Michael Proctor? I wouldn't be offended if I killed someone like this and they wrote about me like that. I'd expect it. Susan Hicks, thanks so much for the super sticker. Appreciate it.
Is nothing Michael Proctor texted and admitted out loud in court about me would ever offend me.
Your figures of speech include the following. She's a big...
Objection.
See, she's not offended. Really, the free Karen Readers clutched pearls. How dare he? But Karen Reed wasn't offended. She knows, she knows he's right on the money. She knows she's evil. She can't be offended because she knows she's evil. She knows the evil inside her. She can't believe how evil people are. Substitute people for Karen Reed.
Is that right?
Yes. You spent hours having him read those out loud. I'm sure that was done by design.
It was. Everything that we did in that cross-examination of Michael Proctor was done by design.
Right. It was done to humiliate him and intimidate him and make him feel small. It's curious that in the ASAP Rocky case, they're not allowed to read out the N-word. They have to say the N-word. But in this, in that cross-examination, he was forced to read out, see you next Tuesday, et cetera, et cetera. He's just a bully. I mean, a real bully in court, Alan Jackson, because he's not really that great a lawyer. All he has are sleazy tactics. A great lawyer could do this without bullying tactics, with smarts, but he's not all that great a lawyer. So he has to do things like raffle himself off with Karen Reed. He just wins because he's willing to do more dirty tricks and go beyond the bounds of the confines of the law than most lawyers. That's my feeling, my opinion.
There was an effort to indict Reed on new witness intimidation charges last March. It failed. Reed says even people around her were under scrutiny.
Our drivers have been approached by the state police.
Well, yeah, you put on a witness harassment campaign. You should have been indicted, Karen. You're lucky you wouldn't. You probably poisoned the jury pool there, too. You probably poisoned the grand jury pool. Every time I go to Massachusetts, people talk to me about this case. They say we're all obsessed. The whole state is obsessed with this case. It's nothing like New York. Massachusetts is all wound up in Karen Reed, and doesn't that make her feel powerful? She's acting like she's the victim. You spearheaded a witness harassment campaign, Karen Reed. What do you expect?
Had very close friends, had their cell phone records subpoenaed for an indictment that never happened.
Have you ever been?
Yeah, just like you went to the feds and got a federal indictment on everybody who had the goods on you. That's how you got Michael Proctor's personal phone messages. That was the only thing in there of any use to you. You went into their Facebook accounts and got their private family pictures and posted them all over the internet. You went to their homes, their places of business, their kids' sports games. And now you're upset because your friend's phone number was gotten and kept in private?
Follow?
I don't know. My eyes are akimbo all the time. I look at law enforcement differently, more warily.
How do you know you're being tracked?
I know.
Yeah, I look at them waringly because I've slept with them all already in Massachusetts. I've slept with all the police officers in Massachusetts. Or tried to. I mean, come on, Karen Reed. This is absurd. Now that I have my new attorney boyfriend, I'm not looking at police officers anymore.
From affidavits from the state police at the Norfolk DA's office. They knew what flight I was on, they knew when I landed, they knew when I came back, and it's disturbing. It's invasive, and it's desperate.
Yeah, it's, you know what happens when you break the law? Your privacy gets invaded, Karen Reed. That's why. You know what's really invasive and disturbing? It's when your loved one is brutally murdered. That's really disturbing. It's really invasive to your life. It's called, you've sentenced them, the O'Keefe family, Karen Reed, to a life sentence of grief. And you have zero remorse. Zero.
Right.
All right, Ted Daniel joining us now for his fascinating interview. Ted, there, she just called the state police desperate. Others may have.
Ted Daniel. I mean, and of course she does. Remember when Ted Daniel wore pink on the first day of the Karen Reed trial? He's a free Karen Reader, so of course Karen Reed wants to do an interview with him because she knows he's going to ask the softball questions and not ask the follow-up questions.
Message out.
Like, hey, you say you don't know now? What happened to when you stood on the courthouse steps and said you did know who did this? What happened to that? What were you saying you knew then?
I would expect that, they went over the pros and the cons of this. With a trial fast approaching, and in the end, they thought it was something that they wanted to do. It's not the first time that she's gone on in a segment like this. She did a...
It's not the first time, and unfortunately, it won't be the last. Whenever she needs money and needs to rally up her supporter base and bring attention to herself and take the attention off John O'Keefe and the horror of her crime, she'll be out in the public giving an interview.
Couple national interviews, and I think that this was something that...
I mean, they're all just like, yeah, I'm interviewing a cop killer. Yep. Something this accused cop killer wanted to do.
Tough road.
Yeah.
So you reached out to the DA's office as well.
Wait, a tough road? Wait, we got to hear that. Sorry. Hold on.
Adam Lally did the first trial, and now Hank Brennan was appointed a special prosecutor. He's, long-known defense lawyer. I used to speak
the
to...
Whitey Bulger case.
Yeah, and I used to speak to Hank about, other stories.
He used to speak to Hank about other stories. But this case goes to trial. He's a right to follow the ethical guidelines, especially for prosecutors. If he did speak, the free Karen readers. Remember when Michael Morrissey spoke and they said, oh, how dare they speak and prejudice the jury pool and speak out pre-trial and accuse Karen Reed of being guilty? You can't win.
So we made a request. We said, hey, we'd like to profile Hank and give him sort of, an on-camera interview. And they declined that request. And I get it. There are some stipulations that the DA and the prosecutor has to follow in terms of out-of-court discussion. I did say, hey, I realize, in my email, I said, I realize there may be some things that...
Defense attorney's supposed to follow similarly. Not in this case.
Have to be left off the table. We were fine with that with them, but unfortunately it didn't happen.
You had talked about this in the...
Do you guys hear my cat snoring? Do you guys hear it? I can hear it through my headphones. I don't know if you guys can. Funny.
Piece that aired last night, and she has talked to, as you mentioned, to you and to other outlets. The question is, will she take the stand now in the second trial? And she mentioned, well, that'll be a game time decision. What's your gut telling you on that?
I think she probably...
I think she probably won't. I say she'll take the stand never. Because she doesn't have control. It's all about power and control for Karen Reed. She won't have the control on the stand. No way will she go up against Hank Brennan on the stand and humiliate herself under his cross. No way. That's my bet. But I can always be wrong. I'm not a psychic. I can't know the future, but if I had to guess, maybe I'll put up let me see what you guys think. Hold on one second. So curious what you guys would think. Let me put up a poll. Will Karen take the stand? Whoop. And I'm not putting a don't know. I'm not putting don't know. Just if you don't know, don't answer the poll. I'm just curious. This is a 2-thing poll. Yes, no. And I'll try to keep it going. Here we go. Okay, that is up. Shall we continue? Wow, it's taking me a while to get through all this. Still going? Okay.
Won't. I mean, as rare as it is for her to do all these interviews with us, I think would be even more rare for her to take the stand. But one of the things that the new special prosecutor is trying to do is take all the statements that she's made and find contradictions. Before this story even aired,
He doesn't have to find the contradictions. The contradictions are there. So he was asking for what was he asking for before?
we got a court order at this station saying.
So as soon as Hank Brennan heard this interview was going down, he got a court order. Good for him. Maestro, you think she's going to take the stand? I don't. I say never. She's in full control in all these interviews and post-trial. She loves to add her hurtful comments to the O'Keefe family and really disparage. Really, what she really likes to do in these interviews is disparage John O'Keefe and play the victim. She knows that'll always rally her base. And re-victimize the O'Keefe family. But I don't think she'd ever take the stand. No way.
The DA's office wants all the raw interview. They want everything and my notes. So the DA's office has been doing that to everyone that she's spoken with.
Yeah, they're doing it to everyone. Of course they are, because once you give up your right to remain silent, you don't have a right anymore to anything. You have to know anything you tell the press will be used in court. And just a reminder, if I were the prosecutor, hold on. This would be my opening statement. Okay, let me go back.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
Who did it?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, that would be my opening statement or my closing argument, either one. And the Free Karen readers do nothing. She's gone from the McAlberts, right, to other people did it, to now we just don't know, to Chloe, to right, Brian Higgins. Now we don't know. That is red flag. If you've lived on planet Earth, that is red flag numero uno. And the Free Karen readers are just like, but why come? Why come Jen McCabe did this or that? You're looking in the wrong direction, Free Karen readers. Why come? Why come he didn't have more bruises below the elbow? Why come? Ay. Let's get into your comments and then we'll come back to the Karen Reed. I need a palate cleanse. Sorry, guys. There's only so much Karen Reed I can take.
We got you coming. You had something to say. You were insightful. Oh, so clever. So Roberta's going to read your comments. Hey, Roberta, read those comments.
Lisa Short says, I love David Mackenzie's reaction to Alan Jackson about the raffle video being inappropriate. LOL. That was good. He was very candid, David Mackenzie, and pretty appalled by the goings-on of the lawyers in this case. Check it out. The description is in the description. The link is in the description of this episode. The description is in the description. The link is in the description of this episode. If you want to check that out, that episode, that interview with David Mackenzie, really about Karen Reed and Karen Reed's lawyers and what you can do in court and what's appropriate and how you defend, what's it like to defend a guilty client, etc. Yasmin says, Roberta just watched the appalling interview that came out today on YouTube. Well, we're watching it now, Yasmin. I cannot believe she actually confesses that his death was caused by their bad choices. Is that a confession or am I crazy? Good point. I mean, I don't think she really meant their bad choices. I think she meant John O'Keefe. If he had been nicer and hadn't broken up with her, he'd still be alive. But he made the bad choice. No one. You think you're going to outsmart Karen Reed? No one crosses Karen Reed without getting taught a lesson. Remember? To think that this wasn't planned would be a mistake. The plan was to teach John a lesson at minimum. Karen Reed's own words. Dougie Morrison said, Karen Reed said that John's phone was like a trophy. That's his property and should go to his family. True. It's also absolutely stomach turning. Let's get back. We're on the final tail of it. Thank heavens. Now I understand why they put it into small pieces, not only to get as many clicks and as much money as possible on as many episodes as possible with Karen Reed due to the interest, but because you can only really stomach so much of Karen Reed at one time.
Hey, there's this inconsistency there. Or she said this during this interview, she said something different during another interview. So it was surprising, though, that we got it 14 hours after the promo aired and the story hadn't even gone on TV yet.
Right. Yeah, it's expected almost too, but it's something that so many eyes are going to be watching. I mean, you did an incredible piece on that story as well, and yeah, I'm looking forward to see what happens.
Okay, they're looking forward to see what happens. Of course you're going to get subpoenaed to hand over all your everything, the unedited interviews. Yeah, I agree, Legion. She's awful. Okay, here we go. One more, last one.
Yes. Reed tells me she withdrew to New Hampshire for 2 months after her first trial. She's been preparing for round 2 ever since.
I have nothing to hide. My life is in.
Is this the same one again? Oh no, it's a little different, right? Or is this the same one?
Good to see you. We first met Karen Reed at a hotel in the Seaport. She's logged 150 nights here since her legal fight began. It's the command center for her defense, and she is one of the commanders.
When we get new information, we just divide and conquer. And
we divide and conquer by making up stories that we later take back. Is this the same thing again? Did we just watch this?
We can break it down really fast.
On the road, we drove by the financial services firm where she worked for 15 years before her arrest.
Little did I know, I'd reconnect with someone I had dated nearly 20 years earlier, and then he would be tragically killed, murdered, and I've been framed for it.
Oh, she missed her calling as a soap opera actress. Didn't she? Susan says Robert Durst agreed to a documentary and he knew he had killed the man in Texas and his wife and Susan Berman. He killed 3 people. He knew that. It was really, that's how he got burned for Susan Berman. He got acquitted of killing Morris Black in Texas with some fancy, expensive legal work. Karen Reed's going on interviews. Is this how confident killers behave? Yeah. They don't have the fear we do. They're bored. They get bored easily. They're big risk takers. Let's see where we are on. Let's just see where we are on the poll. So, yeah. Well, I'm glad you voted yes. 89% of you say Maestro, because only 11% of you say that she's going to take the stand. And 89% say no. That's what I think. But I could be, we don't know. We're not psychics. It's just our best guess.
We appreciate you guys coming here.
Reed's LA-based lawyer Alan Jackson joined her 3 years to the date of John O'Keefe's death.
How much do you think about him?
Okay. It's the same thing all over again.
It initially said herself she hit O'Keefe with her SUV.
You notice that they didn't put in the part. I just want to point out one thing, that they didn't put in the part. They put in this with just the walking around her car. But notice that they didn't put in the part. This part. Oh, gotta wash. Take the no snow, the light flurries. Got to take the light flurries off the back of the windshield, as the Karen Reed people say. Just some light flurries. Freaking nor'easter. Light flurries. Off the back, but don't take it off the right rear taillight. Don't touch that. Yeah, we're going to pick up Karen's car. Going to pick up the car. Oh, the taillight smashed to smithereens. There's Caitlin. Nathan's wife. Oh, get it off the left-hand side, but not the, we don't want to get pulled over. Not the right. Leave that there. They didn't show that. Why? Hey, I'm going to be a free Karen reader. Hey, Ted Daniels, why come you didn't take off? Why come you didn't put in that clip? Why not? All right, I've been going for quite some time. It's all so awful, isn't it? If I missed a piece, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow. At 6, Heisenberg says, I would give not $1 after this interview. Good point, but they don't. They just keep giving. They're like, after that whole ridiculous defense, like Brennan was like, we told after they did that ridiculous filing saying the court needs to pay the $12,000 and change for the expert and his snacks and anything else, because we came to find some video that wasn't there. Hank Brennan's like, what are you doing? We told you the video might not be there. And when you ask for it 3 years later and it's not there, you want us to pay for it? Forget it. But the free Karen readers are like, oh, I worked 5 shifts of overtime this week for minimum wage. I'll hand over my paycheck to Karen Reed. She needs another night. The Queen needs another night in the hotel room. It's wild. It's wild. It's just a money machine. All right, that's what I have for today. I'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. Thanks so much for listening and hanging out with me. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share this episode, follow me on X, and I'll see you tomorrow at 6.
I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident, but with lying lawyers I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment, I'll avoid prison. It was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system a clown. Innocence fraud campaign to save my skin. Making money, truth is my second victim. Carry, Jen, like John, you were my mark. My innocence fraud campaign is my biggest hit yet. I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident, but with lying lawyers I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment, I'll avoid prison. It was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system a clown. Innocence fraud campaign to save my skin. Making money, truth is my second victim. Carry, Jen, like John, you were my mark. My innocence fraud campaign is my biggest hit yet.